Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys today about a project that started called Animal Architecture. It's a project that is talking about the relationship of architecture to the animals, environment. These are animals, like people are animals too. So this is the animals that build the architecture, and the animals that live around it. Anyway, so I'm going to go through a few key points here, and then we're going to run through 10 slides of projects, and then we're going to talk about the end. So animal architecture is a project that talks about architecture and its role generally with ecology and biology. So what that means is it's a really big picture about architecture. All the factors that go into it, the environment, the design, how long it lives, what it's made out of, and specifically who's doing the building and who's living in it. And I made that point earlier about people are animals too. So animals make architecture. And so here we have some ideas about how an animal might make architecture, or at least the defined spatial patterns. Cows have particular spatial parameters that they follow along ramps, and starlings do this kind of forming thing that's really specific. I want to highlight a point here that we're interested in biology, but not like some other architects that are interested in biology. They look at the form of it. They look at the sexy, spooky, sexy parts of it. And I'm looking at the process and the biological process, architecture as a biological process. So we're not looking at sort of termite hills and cones and hovels and beehives. Though they're really cool and they can show us a lot of things. This is not the goal of animal architecture. What it is to learn about how structure and biological processes are forming that thing, and then take it into how we can better inform our environment. So the process, now when we narrow down the focus of biology to the process, we start talking about how we can get beyond sort of us versus them dichotomy. That, again, people are animals. If we just talk about how we live in our environment, we can get past this kind of big story we tell ourselves that we're not animals. But in fact, we are. And architecture plays a big part in it. Architecture is sort of a historical tool for deciding, delineating space between those who are doing the eating nice in your living room and those who are being eaten. So there's a history of how architecture and farming relate and how we view other animals. So here's the website. 10 projects, real fast. This is an oyster reef project that proposed on the site in Galveston. It would help you clean water. It would also aggregate soil. And it would become eventually a structure that could be developable for habitat, for human housing. So it's good for the environment, good for the oysters, good for the water. So moving on. What we do also at animal architecture is kind of confuse the boundaries between natural and unnatural. So Philip Beasley, now I'm showing other people's work here too. Philip Beasley is an artist who does these sort of robotic installation pieces that look like living fauna, but yet they're, reaching out, touching you, and grabbing you. This was a piece of work I did at Longdale earlier this year. It was hanging rats inside the gallery in stockings, eating an ID strips at the top. So it's highly natural, but also totally unnatural, right? So get the idea. Now zoos also come up quite a lot on the website, obviously, animals and architecture. But what we're talking about with zoos is that sort of power hierarchy. Talking about, we have animals on this side and on that side. So zoos become a really interesting way to talk about power relationships between humans and non-human animals. An artist particularly who's interested in doing this is Natalie Dodington. She proposes foods, the inverse of zoo. So she's really working with that power divide, bringing the animals outside the zoo, making the exhibition in the environment. Really fascinating stuff. You should check out her work, even if you don't check out mine. Urban agriculture is obviously a big topic today with sustainability. It really hits home with some of the larger ideas at animal architecture. So we talk about it. It's popular. People like to hear about it. We're big fans of urbanism. We're also big fans of sustainable urbanism. So clearly we're talking about, elevated grass gardens and things like this. It's pretty familiar with it. But we also talk about how humans can build for animals. Like, let's say we were able to build our environment that was better for the animals around it. Well, so we look at those patterns again, those processes. This is a beehive and insect hotel I proposed for a garden in London. It didn't win, but anyway, it's an interesting project. And we're working on a project now that actually did win something. It's a temporary bird shelter here in Houston. And the idea is that we're going to build these sort of temporary structures without elevated parking garages that will attract birds downtown, migratory birds that are big part of the ecosystem and also good for indigenous populations. So now these next two slides are going to kind of wrap up the sort of project section. I think what I'm getting for is building more like animals, and then the next slide will be building with animals. The Starr brothers are doing this really amazing work at the Met. They're using bamboo to create these highly organic structures. The materiality and the temporality of what they're doing is phenomenal. Now this guy in Spain, Antoine Garcia Abril, is actually using animals to help him make his architecture. This cow is eating out the hay from inside this house. It was a poured concrete shell around 8 bales, and he invited a cow in, and over a year or so, it ate out the entire inside of the house. So bringing those two things combined, building like animals and building with animals, this is the last project, something I proposed for publication recently. And it's taking a highly reusable temporary scaffolding-like structure, proposing it for different urban uses around Houston. It could maybe get dense enough to live inside of, or it could be a kind of elevated walkway, provide shade for parking. The idea is that it would be really flexible, reusable, and open to these kind of natural systems and processes, urban agriculture, the nice birds up top. Anyway, that's the kind of the general gist of this project. So that's it. It's a website again, animalarchitecture.org. We need readers, we need writers. If you guys are interested in this and want to contribute, come on. I'm the only one doing this right now. Need your help. I can see you know the menu and take donations too. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.